Here is a video of the 1980 Radio Shack 2-channel radio-controlled tank in action. The 2-channel radio-controlled tank springs to life and moves forward once the remote power switch is moved to the on position. The push button brings it to a stop, and the steering wheel turns the tank left or right. In 1980, Radio Shack released the 2-channel radio-controlled tank, catalog number 60-3009. In the vintage advertising, Radio Shack claims turns left, right at any angle with 4 plastic pylons for an obstacle course. The 2-channel radio-controlled tank, labeled as new for 80, was featured in the upper left-hand corner of page 115 of the 1980 Radio Shack catalog. Testing. The 2-channel radio-controlled tank comes in a highly collectible box. The cardboard box top shows the radio-controlled tank in all its glory maneuvering around included yellow pylons. One child holding the remote is carefully maneuvering the radio-controlled tank while 2 other children look on in excitement. The styrofoam bottom is perfectly molded to hold the remote, radio-controlled tank, and 4 yellow plastic pylons. The first step is to install the battery in the remote. The battery compartment on the remote is located on the back towards the very bottom. Once the battery compartment door is removed, the required 9-volt battery can be installed. Then the battery compartment door was replaced. You could use a vintage 27 MHz walkie-talkie to test the remote. This remote, when switched to on, transmits a carrier wave and silences the static on the walkie-talkie. Turning the steering wheel transmits a high tone when moved to the right and a lower tone when moved to the left. Next, batteries need to be installed in the remote-controlled tank. You must twist the turret 90 degrees to the left or right to remove it. This exposes the first battery compartment. 1 9-volt battery gets installed in it. The turret is then reinstalled by pointing it to the left or right 90 degrees, then rotating it forward. Turning the 2-channel radio-controlled tank on its side exposes the secondary battery door. Removing the battery door exposes the secondary battery compartment. 3C batteries must be installed, then the second battery door was replaced. Missing treads is a common issue with vintage radio-controlled tanks. The soft rubber used in the treads does not age well and turns into a tar-like sticky substance. My 2-channel radio-controlled tank is ready for initial testing. As you can see, the drive wheels are working correctly, and this radio-controlled tank will work once the treads are replaced. Cleaning and lubrication. The 2-channel radio-controlled tank must be disassembled for proper cleaning and lubrication. The turret must be turned 90 degrees left or right in order to remove it. This exposes the first battery compartment where the 9-volt battery must be removed. This radio-controlled tank must be turned over in order to access the secondary battery compartment. And the 3 C batteries must be removed. 4 screws must be removed in order to separate the upper deck from the chassis. This exposes the electromechanical innards of this radio-controlled tank. Inside the 2-channel radio-controlled tank is the following: radio receiver printed circuit board, motor gearbox assembly, antenna mount, 9-volt battery clip, and wire harness. You must remove the antenna mount and 9-volt battery clip in order to free the upper deck from the chassis. 4 screws must be removed in order to remove the top cover and free the motor gearbox assembly from the chassis. Note, the motor gearbox assembly is still attached to the radio receiver printed circuit board by wiring. At this point, the motor gearbox assembly can be reorientated for lubrication. I used Lebel 107 model train oil to lubricate all gear axle contact points and the motor bearings. Lebel 106 PTFE grease was used to lubricate all spur gears. Here is a close-up shot of the rear of the motor gearbox assembly. You can see the drive wheels, the tabs that holds the stamped metal motor gearbox assembly together, and the motor wiring that goes to the radio receiver printed circuit board. The motor gearbox assembly was then reinstalled into the chassis. Then the top cover and motor gearbox assembly were once again secured in place with 4 screws. Road wheels on both sides are secured in place with a single screw. Once removed, each road wheel was cleaned with Armor All applied to a Q-tip. The back of each road wheel was also cleaned with Armor All applied to a Q-tip as well. Lebel 107 model train plastic-friendly oil was applied to each road wheel shaft, and idler wheel bearing as well. Armor All was then applied to the chassis, upper deck, turret, and remote in order to restore the luster of the plastic parts. Reassembly. The antenna mount must be reinstalled on the chassis, and the 9-volt battery clip must be threaded back into the primary battery compartment on the upper deck, before the upper deck can be reinstalled onto the chassis with 4 screws. Time to install the 3 C batteries in the secondary battery compartment, then the battery door. A 9-volt battery was installed in the primary battery compartment once the tank was turned over. The turret was then reinstalled by pointing it left or right 90 degrees, then rotating it forward. I located suitable track replacements on eBay. I will include a link to it in the description. The rubberized track had to be cut down to the proper length. I used pins to secure the ends of the track together. Here are pictures of my 2-channel radio-controlled tank with the new tracks installed. Box top repair. There was a major tear on one side of the cardboard box top. I repaired it using Elmer's school glue that dries transparent. After the glue was applied, I held the ends together with a vise and solder stand to keep them in place until the glue dried. I cleaned the cardboard box top with my go-to cleaner, Windex. Then used Armor All to restore the luster to the cardboard box's laminate finish. Conclusion. Thank you for watching this how-to repair video on repairing the 1980 Radio Shack 2-channel radio-controlled tank. This was a fun little project to work on. I truly enjoy fixing vintage toys. Please like this post and subscribe to Rust Belt Vintage Toy Repair so that you're alerted to my future posts.